Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. Well, recently I released a video talking about watches that were on my watch list for the Aliexpress sale that's coming out very soon in November, the biggest Aliexpress sale of the year. But I wanted to make another one, not because I'm jumping on the bandwagon, but more because I have a few watches I want to show you that are a little bit different. Watches that I don't think are going to pop up on other people's videos about Aliexpress. However, in doing so, there actually might be a few issues or concerns about the watches I'm going to mention, and I am going to point that out as I go along throughout this video. And guys, if you are interested in any of these watches, please keep those concerns in mind, but I will leave affiliate links down below. As always, I have not had any hands-on experience with any of these watches, so I'm not so much recommending them to you, I'm just bringing your attention to them. And in this particular video, I'm bringing you some watches to your attention that you probably haven't seen on Aliexpress before. And that's the sort of premise of this video, showing you some really interesting watches that, to be honest, get me a little bit excited, but have a few little concerns. And if you have been watching this and you're not subscribed to the channel, I would really appreciate it if you just click on that subscribe button. And before we get into this list, everything on this list is likely to be a homage. Aliexpress is full of homage watches, so I'm not going to bother talking about this is a homage or that's a homage, because realistically, all of these are homages. So let's just know that in the background, and let's talk about the watches as they stand on Aliexpress. So the first one on this list is actually a watch that I have no concerns about whatsoever. And actually, I do kind of recommend this one because I am going to buy this one myself. It is an updated version of the Berny. And I think this is exactly the same case as the Berny that I already own, the super affordable Berny, except for they've made some big changes. Firstly, they've put aside any idea about this might be a homage and gone full-blown homage. So I actually prefer the look of this dial. I think it looks very, very cool. They've also upgraded the movement. There's now a Maniota movement inside of it versus, I think there was a sort of a cheaper Chinese or possibly a SEAGULL movement in the one that I have. And they've also put a mesh bracelet on it. This one here is called the AM138MS-L, and it has a 40mm case, and I am telling you now, it looks exactly the same case as the one I already have, so I think it's just reusing that case, which I don't mind because I like the case of that one. 22mm lugs. As I said, it has a Miyota 8215 movement inside of it, and they've upped the price of this one. That original sort of affordable Berny watch that I bought cost me 50 Australian dollars. It's now pushed up to about 70 Australian dollars, but this one here is 120 Australian dollars. But even at that price, I think it is actually a worthwhile watch to pick up, and I'm going to grab one of these because I am quite excited about it. Now we're going to jump into an interesting watch, something that I think you might surprise you a little bit coming from Aliexpress. This is the Oupai, O-U-P-A-I, I don't know how to say that, the 800110. If you look at this watch, you're probably going to see what type of watch it is or what it does. It's really interesting because it has two separate dials, one on each side. It actually reverses. Oh, and it does something a little bit interesting in that fact because the different dials have very different things on them. One is like a silver or a white dial. It has a sub-second hand at the 6 o'clock. And on the other side, it has a black dial, but it has a different complication, which I think is rather interesting. Rather than have a sub-second hand, it has a day-night 24-hour indicator on there. I have absolutely no idea what movement's inside there because there's not a lot of information online or on the store about this one. It does, however, have a sapphire crystal. It is asking 705 Australian dollars, however, which is a lot of money to spend on an Aliexpress watch, especially when you have no idea what movement is inside of it. And there's a few other issues as well, and I'm going to point this out to you now because if you're looking at this and think, wow, I'm happy to spend $700, well, just take a moment because it's from a store that has very few followers, so it's only a smaller store. That doesn't mean it's not a real store. That doesn't mean that they're not selling the product that they're showing, but it does concern me a little bit. Only has a couple of orders, has a couple of reviews, and whenever I'm sort of putting a watch out there for you guys to consider, I tend to always go for stores that have lots and lots and lots of followers, have lots and lots of sales, lots and lots of reviews, and also from stores that I've bought myself, so I can feel fairly confident recommending to you. This one doesn't have any of those. So I think it's a really interesting watch, but I think it's a little bit expensive, and it's from a store that I'm a little bit concerned about. Now, I will say that I have bought from stores before that I've been a little bit concerned about, and I have to say I've actually ended up with the best watches I've bought from Aliexpress. but I may have just been lucky in those situations. The next one, I'm not concerned about the store at all. I'm not concerned about the brand of the watch. It is by Merkur, which I have experienced before. Very good quality watches. This one's the Chronograph. This one is a sort of a different version using that SEAGULL ST19 movement, that movement that we love to look at, the one that looks absolutely stunning. But this time the dial of it obviously does not look like the one that we're expecting that has this movement inside of it. This one has a very much homage sort of a look to it, and I think it has quite a good look to it. And I think for the price that they're asking, which is $480 on a canvas strap or $510 on the bracelet, well, I know that's not particularly cheap for Aliexpress watches, but to find a mechanical homage to this watch, that's actually probably not a bad price. And I have to say, I really do like the sort of complicated dial on this one. I'm always attracted to this watch. I'm always considering sort of homages of this watch. And this one with that particular movement in it, well, maybe that pushes me over the edge and maybe want one of these ones. I understand it's not particularly cheap, however. And as mentioned, whenever you see a watch that looks a lot like this, normally it is a quartz watch, which then is able to bring the price considerably down. So to have a watch that looks like this, that actually has a mechanical movement in it, well, that does get me a little bit excited. Now, I am very excited about this one here, and I'm also very scared about this one here, because this one here, again, is from a store that does not have many followers, does not have many reviews, it doesn't have a lot of information, and it concerns me somewhat. However, the watch really interests me. This one is only described as the 82035/000R-9359. Yeah, it doesn't really roll off your tongue. There doesn't seem to be another name for this watch, but is described in the description as a high quality watch. Okay, let's go high quality watch. That's good. There's a silver version and there's a gold version, as in the case colors. It is a 40mm by 40mm. It does state that it has a sapphire crystal. It says that there is 2 movement options. There is an Asian movement for $338. Which, if that's a good Asian movement, well, that's probably not actually a bad price for a watch that looks like this. But then there's the 4400 movement, which is $764, which is a lot more money. And it doesn't really sort of specify what that 4400 movements is. I'm assuming they're trying to say that it is a Swiss movement. I've had a bit of a poke around online about 4400. There's a few different variations that it could possibly be alluding to. But it concerns me when you're then investing 764 Australian dollars. So perhaps I would not be jumping at that option, and perhaps I would not be jumping at this watch because of my few concerns about it. As I said, not a lot of followers on the stores, only a couple of reviews. Those reviews, however, are very positive. However, when there's only a few reviews on a particular watch, I'm always a little bit suspicious that they might not be real reviews. That may be just me being suspicious, however. So perhaps this is an amazing watch and perhaps we should all be buying one. But at this point, I just want to bring it to your attention. All right, let's go back into the realms of safe watches to buy from Aliexpress. And I can absolutely recommend this brand and this store because I've bought a watch from this brand, from this store, and it has been one of the best watches that I've bought. And this is actually just a different variation of this watch. It is an Escapement Time, it is the Pilot Chrono, and I'm fairly sure it is in the same case that is in my Type B Fliger from Escapement Time. That being a 40mm case diameter, sapphire crystal, BGW9 lume, has a really cool case back with a plane on it, and this one is nice and really affordable, 115 Australian dollars. I'm definitely going to pick one of these up. And if you're looking at this, you're probably guessing right, it is a quartz movement. You're not going to get this sort of watch, chronograph features with a mechanical sort of movement inside it for this sort of price, but this one does contain the Miyota 6S21. Now this sort of price and the quality that I expect from Escapement Time and the size of it coming on the same strap that looks like that came on my Fliger Type B, I think it's going to be a really good watch. This might be that quartz watch that I really want in my collection because not only does it look great, not only the quality is going to be great, but it's really affordable as well. And that ticks some boxes for me for my quartz watch. Now let's go back to some shady territory on Aliexpress because this one seems to be the most shady that I have come across, but it does make me a little bit excited because it looks very interesting. Check this watch out. This is a watch that I have been looking for. I've been looking for a homage of this watch for a long time because I really like the original. This one here is the Gull Tron. It contains the SEAGULL ST2103 automatic movement. They've called it the ST2130. It's just a bit of a swap around of the name there. Has a bronze case, 42mm case diameter, dual crowns, and it's 335 Australian dollars. So why is this a little bit shady? Why I'm a little bit concerned about it? Because it looks really good. It's bronze, but I'm sort of okay with that. Price is pretty good. Has an automatic movement. Yes, okay, it's a SEAGULL movement, but at this sort of price, this sort of look, I think that actually all sounds quite good. Well, my concern is that I have looked up this brand online. I've looked at the photos of this that are on this store, and they certainly seem to be doing some dodgy stuff. Firstly, on the store itself, one of the photos is actually not of their watch. It is of the original watch. So they're trying to show that this watch looks exactly the same as the original, and that's just not true. And actually looking outside of Aliexpress on their website, they seem to do fake watches. It's a company that does fake watches and also homage watches, but it's the same watch, just a different printing on the dial, and that really concerns me. Now, it does make me think, however, how many of these watches are coming out of factories with two different types of dials, one with a fake name and one with a homage name? And I can't answer that question, unfortunately, but what I can say is this particular store does do that. And that does put me off buying this watch. And it's a shame because it's actually a homage of a watch that I would really like to own. Now, the next one is actually something a little bit special. And I think it's something a little bit special, firstly, because it's a cool looking watch. But when you look at the photos and you can see that they're real photos, it looks really, really well made. And they've done some really interesting stuff. It is the Zoom, which is a Z with a U with a little dash above it with an M. Zoom by Rodin. Rodin? I don't know. Well, however you say that. I'm calling it the racing watch because it looks like a sort of a racing sort of style watch. This one, firstly, does look really, really cool, and it looks really, really well made. There's a couple of different options, panda, reverse panda, a couple of different dial colors. It contains a modified NH38, which I think is very interesting. Not only is it modified to suit the dial layout, but when you flip it around, it has this custom rotor on it that looks like the steering wheel of a racing car. And I think that looks very, very cool. The store actually looks okay as well. There's some a few followers, not really many sales of this one, however, and I think that is because of the price. This one here, 770 Australian dollars. And I think for an Aliexpress watch, that sounds like way too much money. But I think this particular watch, if you grabbed this watch and you took it out of Aliexpress and you threw it onto Kickstarter, or if you threw it into a micro brands collection, I think you actually might think it's actually quite okay. Yes, it's got a Seiko movement in it, but it is heavily modified. Yes, it's still 770 Australian dollars, but it's a very interesting looking watch. It is a very well made looking watch. And I think it is actually going to be quite a good watch. However, I'm never going to experience it, unfortunately, because it is a little bit too much money for me for an Aliexpress watch, even if I think it sort of outshines that Aliexpress format. So there's some interesting watches that I have found that I'm thinking you may not have come across before. If you are interested in any of these watches, as I mentioned, please be careful. There's a few there that concern me a little bit, not only because of the prices, but because of the stores that they're on. Do a little bit of research yourself. If you do end up buying any of them, however, I would love to hear from you because I would like some more information about these watches because all of these ones do interest me. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I do hope to see you in the next video.